think anyone can see that on our feed. So Eric just ran in the back flying a Wingman's Hanger card. But we're controlling the feed here, so anyway. But no, so the instancing, the way that we're oops, down, phone off. The instancing system is going to reserve slots. So we're going to reserve slots for different groups of players. So you'll never be able to sort of show up and like completely take over an instance. So there'll be, if you and your friends show up, there'll always be slots reserved for people that wouldn't be part of your group or people that would be your enemies. And we're sort of doing the same we'll do the same for capital ships too. So basically, if our instance could have 100 different ships in it, we're not going to let 100, people that are all friends show up and take it over. So we'll reserve some slots for capital ships, and there is some benefit on the bigger ships in terms of instancing because we may be able to do some detailed, like if you're not in that ship, the sort of online updates don't need to be as big because if you're outside the ship, you don't really care what's happening inside the ship. You just care what the actual outside of the ship is doing. But that's all part of the long-term testing. It won't be, we won't have the big ships in the first round of the dogfighting, but later on, as the dogfighting evolves, because it's going to be like the hangar module and the other modules where we're going to constantly be sort of adding and iterating to it. So the beginning of the dogfight will be pretty limited in terms of the Hornet, maybe like one or two other single sort of seater ships. Then it would be the Constellation, so you can have multi-crewed stuff, and that's when you start to be able to have the bigger ships. And really we're kind of gated on we're gated on the assets being built because it's pretty complicated. So just doing the Hornet with the damage stakes, the LODs, all the rest of the stuff takes time. But the absolute goal is for one group to show up with their Corvette, another group to show up with their Corvette, duke it out, launch fighters, and have a good old, sort of battle.
Now, the chat room actually has a number of users who are very concerned that Chelsea doesn't have a chair. That seems to be an ongoing theme right now.
What's that?
We're back.
There you go, guys. Let me just clarify, guys, in the chat roll. Hangar questions should be saved for later. We're going to have some of the folks working directly on the hangar to speak to you a little later. So right now we'd like questions on dogfighting and the other work they're doing out in LA. Legante would like to know who is winning the battle for most epic PC between Chris and Sandy.
Well, I'm winning right now because Sandy's waiting on some cards. Well, you isn't running yet.
Well, that's true.
Wonder about
but 4 R9 290Xs is faster than you. Put it that way.
Yeah, but you have to
Except
actually.
I'm generating a lot more heat than you.
Well, you also have to have it actually set up. So.
Yeah, it will be. Don't worry about that. Travis is on it, aren't you, Travis?
Is it set up?
No, not yet.
All right, there you go. So now there's 2 Titans in SLI and a 4K monitor and 25K monitor. All right, what have I got here? Are we going to blow this up? Is it going to blow up in my face? What's going to happen?
That was a gift from one of our fans.
All right. Chocolate makes one feel. Hopefully, you'll feel loved by the Star Citizen community. Wow.
Whoa.
Look at all this chocolate.
Pulp Fiction moment.
All right.
Where's the shining gold light coming
I don't know. Can everyone see this on the? All right. Look at that. That's a lot of chocolate.
That's enough chocolate.
Wow. Okay. Well, we're all going to die of diabetes. Thank you very much. Who's this from, by the way? Aurelius Pantheria tigris. Tigger, I guess, maybe. Well, thank you very much. That was much appreciated. In fact, I actually think I walked past him when I was coming down the parking lot because someone went past me and said, have a good live stream. And I'm like, and I wasn't even. I was like, that's a weird thing to say to someone. And I went like 2 floors down, and I'm like, oh wait a minute, that was probably someone that stopped by the office. I was like, thanks, but I don't think he heard me. So sorry about that. If I walked past you, I was concentrating on stuff. But thank you for the chocolate. We will all have a sugar coma a little later on. Here we go. All right, back to questions.
I have a number of people asking about the Xi'an ship artwork, wondering when we'll see something. A lot of people are wondering if it's something we've seen in the past or if it's going to be a new design that is yet to be revealed.
So no, the Xi'an Scout we haven't shown. We're working on it. I'm not 100%. We're not 100% there with something we're ready to show. It's going to be cool. You haven't seen it in any of the sort of Xi'an concept stuff. You've seen kind of the idea of the Xi'an ships, which is going to be more vertical rather than sort of horizontal, which is sort of the human design and also the Vandal and the Banu design. But the Xi'an Scout no one's seen, and we're sort of in the stage where we're trying to detail and model it out with more fidelity than sort of generally the conceptual sketches, which has been more about sort of Xi'an environments. But that is definitely something that will be coming back and showing. So it's a high priority for us to show the Xi'an and the Banu as it develops. Now that we are letting you guys put them in your hangars, and I think quite a few of you put them in your hangars, so that's kind of cool.
All right, let's see. A lot of people asking about the size of the Banu merchantman. How big a ship are we looking at?
I mean, I don't know, Ben, you'd be, I mean, as far as it goes, it's not quite as big as the Starfarer, but not too far away from it. I mean, it may actually be slightly longer than the Starfarer, but may not carry quite as much cargo. But it'll be close to it, right? I mean, so pretty much the of our big merchant ships, the Starfarer and the Banu merchantmen are the ones that can carry the biggest payloads. Well, with this, if people got questions for people here.
Oh, that's true.
Let's see, people wondering about ship upgrades. Will they be able to replace missile mounts with more guns?
That's a good question. I mean, our system's pretty data-driven, so if we defined a mount that would be able to mount missiles and also mount guns, then you could do that. It sort of depends on the ships and how we want to balance them. Potentially, but if a ship specifically says it's a Class 1 or a Class 2, Class 3 mount, and we stick to that, then it will only, like a Class 3, if you're only a Class 3 mount, you should only be able to, you'll only mount sort of missiles, like basically things like, chaff or missiles or that kind of ordnance. But it sort of depends. We certainly can define a hard point that could like mount a turret or mount missiles as well. It's completely data driven in the system.
Here's a question for our AI programmer. Will NPCs have different levels of effectiveness?
Yeah, AI has what we call profiles, which is a kind of behavior you set to them. So, for example, you might have a timid AI that will be kind of hesitant about fighting very well, or you'll have an aggressive AI that'll go very, very hard against you. So, yeah, even if it's the same kind of ship, they can behave drastically different from each other depending on the profile.
We also have a number of people wondering how many NPCs a particular account will be able to hire. I think people are imagining hiring entire armies at this point.
Well, we haven't decided how many NPCs that you can hire. I mean, obviously, it's going to be gated by performance issues, so we probably won't let you, at least crew your ships with too many NPCs. So I don't know whether we would let people, hire 10 people or 4 people or 20 people. That's still to be decided by what the system can support. But we probably wouldn't want someone hiring a complete army, and I mean, we're not an RTS game, right? So I think we would sort of limit it to, I would guess, I mean, I'm just being arbitrary, but less than 10 or less. But it hasn't been decided yet. So and don't forget, NPCs also will take up some performance. So they will impact how many other players can be sort of in that area as well.
Sounds good. Let's see. A lot of people asking about the Starfarer Gemini, which is the military variant of the Starfarer, wondering if we will be offering that at some point. I think too soon to know, though. Yeah,
you gotta wait. I mean, we still got a bit of time left in making the game, so we can't. You gotta save some things for next year.
Let's see. A lot of hanger questions, guys. Save your hanger questions for later. Wondering if you can talk a little bit about plans for cosmetic ship customization, skins, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, so actually that's currently something that we're doing a R&D on, and we have actually we like Brendan and Jason and Austin are the most familiar with it, but we're investigating some texturing techniques, not too dissimilar, that was used in Brink, if any of you guys out there have known that, or was used in Rage, which allows us to sort of at runtime synthesize textures, so we can sort of bake down various decals and painting onto a texture, and we can support it without having too much performance hit, which isn't in CryEngine, so we actually have to build that specifically. But that's the kind of thing that we're doing, and it's also, by the way, just let you guys know, this is exactly the kind of thing that the amazing support that you've done out there of all the money that you've given us allows us to do. So we're actually investing a bunch of money into sort of technological research and upgrades that maybe won't come online tomorrow or won't even come online in 6 months, but now we can actually go and say, you know what, we will spend $500,000 doing a texture synthesis technology that would plug into a CryEngine, because that's a pretty big task. Not many games have that, because for the long term of the game, if everyone wants to run around and have custom looking ships, and hopefully Star Citizen goes for many, many years, that's something that we think would be really useful. And so we can actually do that now, which is kind of cool. One of the big things that getting so much support so early is allowing us right now to go much wider than I'd originally planned. So that has a few downsides in that we've got to ramp everyone up. So in the immediate, like some of the immediate stuff, maybe we're not quite delivering quite as much stuff to you right now, but you're going to see the benefit of it down the road, because we can go really wide. So we're sort of, right now, we're essentially got groups working on every single facet of the game. And the previous development sort of setup was that wasn't necessarily going to be the case, and so we would get some stuff done and move on to the next one. So we're right now in active process on the first person boarding. We're in active process on the planet side stuff. We're in active process on the dogfighting stuff, on the hangar stuff, on the big MMO backend stuff, on Squadron 42, obviously, which obviously we made the announcement of Aaron and a whole bunch of people that are dear friends and I've worked with for a long time and have built some really great single player space sim experiences. So all that is all happening right now. So actually one of our biggest development challenges is setting the infrastructure up so we all talk to each other really well, how it works together. But I think it's going to pay off spades, especially next year as we roll into it. We're actually going to be able to deliver a greater amount of content, which will be great. So hopefully that answers some of the question.
Atmospheric re-entry.
Right. Adrian would like to know if NPCs are going to be able to learn, similar to the way they do in Forza, apparently.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of one of the goals. I mean, there is a question about whether you train your NPCs up the higher for you, but I think that the idea would be that you would have NPCs that the more they get experience, they'll do combat. Perhaps they potentially will get better, but part of the idea is to have some of the AI code that essentially learns from what you're doing and maybe adapts to what you're doing.
Archangel would like to know how we load and unload cargo on our ships. Are we going to have to go in there and crate and uncrate each individual pieces, or what?
No, you're definitely not going to have to get a pickup truck or get a forklift and start loading up stuff. But essentially, we're going to try to have some level of visual immersion to it. So if you buy some goods and you can come out maybe onto the landing pad and you can maybe see some stuff being loaded into your ship, but we haven't quite figured out the mechanics and how we're going to do that. But we basically want to see. We want you to go into trading place see crates and say, oh, I want that and that and that crate, and then you come out and you can see some, background NPCs like loading some crates into your ship, and then you can take off. We got the lamp.
We actually did that with someone saying, "Damn, I wanted to pilot a forklift." So,
Well, you got the buggy.
Yeah, you got the buggy.
yeah, you guys caused enough damage with that buggy. Folks are wondering about emotes for characters for role playing. What level we're going to be seeing.
We're definitely going to have a good level of facial stuff. So we're planning, even like on the dogfight, that we would have different reactions for your face. Like, you're intense, you're on someone's tail, someone's on your tail, you're a bit worried, you just blew someone up, you're happy. So we're going to have a level of just sort of facial reactions. It's going to be really strong in Squadron 42. And so we'll probably let you in the sort of multiplayer side when you communicate with other people, be able to sort of key up those emotions from your chat window. And then we also have live driver, which we actually have some working stuff for, which is kind of cool. Basically, you have the webcam and you're sitting on your side and you can talk, and on the other side, the person playing the game can see your avatar move his mouth to your actions. So you can say things to your webcam, and you can see your character and someone playing against you will see your actual avatar animating and talking, which will be pretty cool.
Skylar would like to know how larger ships like the Idris and the Banu and the Starfire will fit into hangars.
So that is a good question, and that is one that we haven't figured out the answer to yet. So we've sort of been debating, like, how do we handle like the really big ships? Do we sort of have a landing pad outside that you can go and see them on? Do we make an even bigger hangar? But we haven't made the answer for that yet. So.
Now, a bunch of people are asking about how the face tracking would work with the Oculus Rift.
That's a good question. Probably not so well, since it certainly couldn't track your eyes. It probably could track your mouth. I'm not even sure we've tested it with the Oculus Rift, so that's probably something that we should try. But I would think that you'll lose the eye, because the one nice thing about the live driver stuff is that it tracks your blinking and your eye movements, and it tracks your mouth movements, but obviously kind of with a certain amount of imprecision. It's not as accurate as a really high-end mocap system, but it's enough to sort of drive an avatar and match up mouth movements to speech and stuff like that.
See, a lot of people asking about the track IR support. Are we going to be seeing that with dogfighting, or is that further down the road?
Well, we're definitely going to be supporting track IR. I don't know if we're going to have a track AR. Probably won't be supported for the very first version of dogfighting, but it will come online at some point next year.
All right. A lot of people are just asking how dogfighting is going. What are you all up to right now?
Well, everyone's quite busy here working on dogfighting, and actually most of Austin's actually working on dogfighting too. So I think it's going well. I mean, I think the issues that we have right now revolve around I think I've mentioned it in a couple of interviews, but there's some decisions to be made in terms of the multiplayer and the back end system of it. So we sort of are faced with this: do we do a kind of shorter term solution where we just use the existing sort of multiplayer stuff that you get with CryEngine and kind of hack that, or do we actually integrate it and use it properly with the distributed like universe cluster system that we've built, which also pays off with the hangar allowing different people to enter the hangar and would pay off on the planet side. So my personal inclination right now is to do it the right way the first time, not like do a sort of placeholder and then actually do the full back end later on, because it will push off when we can get the back end, the big full one working. So that's kind of, we're sort of making that technical decision right now, because that will determine whether you get the dogfight now or you get it a little later. So, but we're making really good progress. I mean, the ship system stuff's really cool. Like a lot of the visual stuff, which we're not quite ready to show you because it isn't quite polished yet. It's pretty awesome. So we've got some, like the damage stuff's going to be pretty brilliant because like the ship, it's not just like one little piece of debris or anything. Like, I mean, Dan, you want to talk about it? I mean,
we got multiple different damage states that we're working on. So we're going to have different pieces of like your wings flying off before you're actually destroying the wing completely. And then when the wing gets actually blown off, then all the damage states for that will disable the weapons that are attached to those particular parts. You also see like the landing gear coming off of it as well. So that won't be functional when you're actually trying to land. So you have to keep that in mind when you're looking at possibly landing. So we'll have to address that as an issue. Multiple different things with that. Mark is definitely giving me a hand on that. So we're expanding the damage states capability of the CryEngine with that. And we also got like tons of lighting stuff that's also being worked on with Alan. So we're also going to be having like maybe different lights and warning klaxons going off as your damage states is happening. Particle effects with different like sparks coming off of the wing when it's all blown off. Same thing with like your engines. We got the pipe system that's also responding to this as well. So if you're in a damage states, this will affect your piping system. So there's tons of complexity with all the damage states that we're.
Well, I mean, and I think we've got on the light rig that you and Rowan, who now is back in England, but he's the second lighting artist that we have, who came to us from Crytek UK, I believe. Like there was 68 lights on the rig for the Hornet. 72. See, that's a lot of lights for everyone out there. Just to let you know, that's like I think most console games, even with deferred lighting, can maybe like handle
like 50.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's the lighting for the Hornet, levels of detail, but cinematic. The ship systems. I don't know if any of us done like Mark. What's the like on our count on say what do we got running in the Hornet? There's how many different systems? There's quite a few, right?
There's a lot. I mean, you got the power plant, the avionics computer, and then all the weapons, and then you have the radar. There's
you got your cooling units, battery,
batteries.
You'd have life support.
Avionics.
Yeah.
And the avionics isn't just one package. It can be multiple, right? So it can be like your weapons, like weapon targeting computer, weapons control. Then we've got all the display stuff. So we've got the HUD stuff, which we'll show a video on later, which I think you guys are gonna sort of can see where it's going and be excited by it. So we're basically building the level of like detail and fidelity for simulating you flying the ships is unprecedented, I think, over anything. I mean, more than any flight sim I've seen, and definitely more than anything I've done and anything I've seen on other space sims. And so it's pretty cool, but it's a lot of stuff. So and that just sort of means that like the Hornet's a great example of like the amount of work. So yes, you can get inside your Hornet right now in the hangar and you go, okay, well, why can't you fly that around and shoot it? But like we have like huge amounts of damage states and details, and you have to have all the LODs. You've got to have all the different systems. You've got to have the geometry model for the systems. So there's and then we haven't even mentioned the shield, which we're still working on. We're not ready to show you yet because we don't have the visuals yet that we're happy with. We have our own stuff that's happening internal, and that's a whole process. And and by the way, you can fire the shields will absorb energy from energy weapons, but maybe a projectile weapon can sort of penetrate them but lose some of their kinetic energy. So there's this all level of fidelity and detail that I don't think has been in there. And we also have a bunch more effects. We're talking about. Should I announce there was a sale or something? Oh, sorry. I guess there's the second allotment of Idris's is available.
They've probably sold out by now.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so sorry, I wasn't focused on that. So I mean, there's just like a huge amount of detail and fidelity, which we're having actually a lot of fun for. We think it's going to make the combat be a whole different level of experience. So it's all going good. I mean, we're all having a lot of fun doing it. But downside of that. Including what we're talking about in the back end of the online system, is that we're sort of debating at what point we want to give you all this and what point we think it's all polished and all the rest of the stuff. So we haven't made the full decision yet, but we may decide to push it beyond the end of this year. So don't shoot me just yet.
They're sold out.
Oh, they're sold out?
Also,
Okay.
also our site crashed.
Yep, site crashed.
Holy.
Well,
Thanks, guys.
It's not a Star Citizen event without a site going down. Does it really crash?
It crashed temporarily.
Okay, well, it's back on now.
It's-
Ben, next question.
Yeah, upcoming response to chat roll seems to be take your time, get it right the first time.
Thank you. Yeah.
You know, there's I wouldn't lie to you if we didn't all like be kind of excited by X Rebirth and download it and then feel so taking time is a good thing. I mean, like if you think of all the people that you think are great, like Valve or Blizzard, and you play the games, or say the Grand Theft Auto games, all those guys take the time to make sure the thing works and is polished. And I mean, the nice thing about having the level of support we have right now is that we don't have to worry. It's not like we have to, there's a publisher saying you've got to get it out tomorrow because I need it for my quarter for my public stockholders, or you get forced for a release of, you got to be your launch title on the Xbox One. We need you out right now, so we can't make the gameplay better. Which, by the way, I will guarantee you on pretty much most of those launch titles you've seen, which is why you're seeing mediocre reviews for it, is because they've been we got to have it for the launch day. So, and the cool thing with our process is you guys see it all along the way, and you get to play it. So even if we don't give you the full dogfighting before Christmas, we're going to give you some stuff to play around with. So. Yeah. Dan's got something pretty cool that we think will be kind of fun that you guys will think. Can we show it maybe later?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe we'll show you later in the cast something that we're thinking of having fun with in the hangar, and you guys can use. But yeah, so we've got a bunch of stuff, and we're going to share along the way. So it's not like we just go off and you don't see anything. But yeah, thank you for all your support out there.
Kazieski would like to know if we have any consultants we're working with on Squadron 42 to get dialogue, military stuff correct.
I don't know. Dave, you want to answer that one?
Not yet. I mean, I think the plan is probably to bring maybe have people come on to consult just to make sure that the military is. I think actually, Kazieski asked me this when I asked a dev. But yeah, I mean, I feel like there's. I don't know, to me, there's always there's a sweet spot of dramatically fun yet technically accurate that you have to hit, and that doesn't look too rigid, and so I feel like it'll be a process to figure out exactly where that sweet spot, so it feels like a legitimate military acting, and then but is not too cold and technical.
And we have a vast amount of our backers that are that not just US, but like all around the world, UK, Australia, and German, you name it, all around from every military around the world. So I think we got plenty of. I
got a PM a couple months ago from a guy who, because I put a thing I was saying I was looking for books on submarine tactics, and so I got contacted by a guy who works on submarine.
Right, cool.
Questions like
the
that.
pilot who was on the 24-hour live stream sent us a very nice, very large booklet on
all the HUD stuff. Yeah, which is actually really useful, right? So yeah, we got a massive research from I think maybe it was Dane, I believe was his, yeah. So thank you, Dane. That was really cool.
Next one up, man.
Oh, it sounds like there are actually still some instances available. If people are trying to get some, they're still selling. Rush to get the Idris if you want one right now. Let's see. Some folks are wondering about actors in Squadron 42. Have we talked to anybody yet?
Wait for the Squadron 42 section, which is coming up here, so we can answer it during the Squadron 42 section.
Oh yeah, we're going to talk about Squadron 42 a little bit later, guys. If you want to hold some of those questions. Chat room just went crazy because of the Idrises. I'm gonna take a moment to catch up. One person is wondering about earning UEC during the dogfighting. Is that something we're talking about?
Yeah, no. So I mean, a part of our plan with dogfighting is to we're going to allow you to fight and sort of earn, I guess, test credits would be the way to do it, and you can buy different things with the test credits, and we're going to also allow you to have so many test credits to try stuff out. And the issue, test credits